Namaste, welcome to Pythagoras Academy. This is Vikram Dachepally. In this video, I'll try to clearly explain what is static friction. It operates between two surfaces in contact when there is no relative slipping between them. This is the definition of static friction, we can say. So, a phrase which demands our attention is no relative slipping. When there is no relative slipping between them, the common misconception is that people think two surfaces are not moving. But it is not true. There are two possibilities when I say there is no relative slipping between two surfaces which are in contact. So what are the two possibilities? Number one, say surface 1 is in contact with surface 2 and both are at rest. So this is a general understanding that two surfaces are at rest. So there is no relative slipping between them. They are not slipping at all in the first place. Now in the second possibility, surface 1 and surface 2, they are moving with common velocity, common acceleration, or I can say two surfaces in contact, they are moving together. And as long as they move together with respect to one surface, the other surface is not slipping. So that is the meaning of the word relative slipping. It is not no slipping, but it is no relative slipping. It means velocity of one surface with respect to another surface is zero. It is relative velocity which is zero, but not the velocity with respect to ground. So these are the two possibilities that arises when I say there is no relative slipping between them, and when one of these possibilities is happening, I can say that the friction which is existing between two surfaces is static friction. So there are two types of friction by nature. One is static, the other is kinetic friction. In this video, I'll limit my discussion only to static friction. Consider one example where a 100 kg block is placed on a rough horizontal fixed floor. Say this is ground which is fixed. Now if I apply a force of 1 Newton on it, which is very little to move this 100 kg block practically. So what exactly is happening here is the rough surface, in order to prevent slipping. The aim of static friction is always to prevent relative slipping. It will try to keep the relative slipping zero between two surfaces in contact. So the rough horizontal surface will apply friction on 100 kg block in the backward direction to counter this 1 Newton force. So friction is 1 Newton force in the backward direction. So this is not moving. In this particular case, because the ground cannot move, the both surfaces moving together is ruled out. It is not possible in this case because for the simple reason that the ground is fixed. The only chance of no relative slipping happening is 100 kg block being at rest. So in this case, friction tries to keep 100 kg block at rest. So it is a general misconception that people think friction will always stop motion. It is against motion. No, it is not. Specifically speaking about static friction sometimes it prevents motion, like this in this example, say it is preventing the motion of 100 kg block in order to keep the relative motion zero or the relative slipping zero. But in different cases, static friction can support motion also. I'll discuss those examples. In this example, only the first possibility is happening, that both the surfaces are at rest, and it is static friction which is achieving that, and it is adjusting its value to 1 Newton, so the block does not move. Consider another example. Say there's a truck which is moving with certain velocity v and acceleration a at an instant. So there is a block placed on the truck. There is no string attached to it. Still, the block is going along with the truck. So how is this happening? It is only happening because of static friction. Now, the aim of static friction, as I discussed, is to prevent relative slipping. In order to prevent relative slipping, it may stop the motion, or it may allow two surfaces to move together. The second possibility, what I'm talking about. So with respect to the block surface, the truck surface is tending to move forward. So the block is applying friction on the truck in the backward direction. So the surface of the truck is applying friction as an equal and opposite reaction in the forward direction. So it is static friction, point number one, because there is no relative slipping. As long as the block and the truck moves together, there is no relative slipping, and the friction that operates is static friction. And it is static friction which is acting on the block, is moving the block. Without the static friction, the truck would move and the block would have fallen off from there. but it is only because of static friction the block is able to go along with the truck without any strings attached to it. So the static friction keeps the relative motion zero, and two surfaces are moving together in this case. Not just this case, a very practical example is we walking on a rough horizontal road. So when you try to walk in a rough horizontal road, you are pushing the ground back, so you are exerting friction backward. So the ground is exerting frictional force on you forward. It is because of friction that you are able to walk or run. And here your foot is not slipping, there is no relative slipping. So as long as it is in contact with the ground, the relative slipping is zero. So the static friction is acting between your foot and the ground, because of which you are able to walk, run or accelerate. Just imagine yourself trying to run on the surface of an ice block. It is impossible, right? Because for the simple reason that there is no friction on the surface of the ice block, you cannot walk or run. Without friction, it is not possible to walk or run. So friction definitely supports motion as well in many cases. So the aim of friction is not to stop motion, but the aim of static friction specifically is to stop relative motion. In order to stop relative motion, it can keep both the surfaces at rest, or it can move both the surfaces together. So any of these two will happen in order to prevent relative slipping. So it is because of this static friction's nature that there is no relative slipping happening between the tires of a car and the road, or of any vehicle and the road. So that is the reason why our tires are safe, because if there is relative slipping, every other day you have to change your tires because there is wear and tear of the tires. So static friction really helps us. It is supporting us in many ways. So that's all about static friction. If you have any questions or queries or suggestions, you can always use the comment section to interact with me. I'll be more than happy to respond and receive your feedback. This is Vikram Dachepally signing off. Namaste.